here. I've known them for 18 years now. When Kevin was born, he was 3 years old, we were there. And they'll tell you Kevin's story tonight, and they'll share with you lots of experiences and lots of very important handles that we need to have in raising up special children. And Dr. Trevor holds a PhD in geophysics from Wellington. But at the moment they reside, both Trevor and Helen reside in Dunedin, New Zealand, where Otago University is. That's where Mrs. Simon and I come from. And the both of them have 5 lovely children. 3 of them are physics graduates, and one is holds a doctorate in physics. And the youngest is Kevin, and tonight you will hear lots about Kevin. We are really honored to have them here with us. They are actually on their way to visit us. And I said, since you're visiting us, why don't you do us a favor and talk to our people? And you may not realize this, but this is the first talk. This is the first of this kind of seminar in Malaysia and maybe even in Asia. And we are the privileged lot. Okay? Without further ado, I would like to invite the chairman of the PTA, Mr. Simon, to say a few words, and after that we will invite the principal who will say a few words, and then we will go ahead with how the method. Now let's put our hands together. Welcome, Mr. Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our pengetua, Tuan Yahya Kuso, today. Now, as we know, this is the second program that the PIBG is organizing, the PIBG of this school. And we're really very happy for the turnout tonight. I believe the parents of the PPKI, the special children's are here, and good you are here to share with Dr. Trevor and Helen. I would call them a friend because I was in Otago, Dunedin, New Zealand, quite some years back. I really enjoyed the country, and I also found another Otagoan, and that's good. The world is getting smaller. What I just want to say tonight is that we are indeed honored and very lucky to have Dr. Trevor and Helen to be here. And because our school also has special children studying in this school. And I'm sure the parents here will be able to share with Dr. Trevor either way. Share your experience with Dr. Trevor, and definitely Dr. Trevor can share his video. With all his biodata that I have seen, I think this is an expert. Okay? Without much ado, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to say a few words, and not forgetting my PIBG members and all the members who helped to organize this event today. Thank you very much.
Secretary and our from New Zealand, Dr. Trevor, and Mrs. Helen. So today we are very proud to have our guest speaker, especially from New Zealand, very established. And when I search internet, I get the particulars of the Dr. Trevor. Then we are very proud. This is our second session. So we hope this our event runs smoothly. Then I'm very proud because the turnout is very good compared to the last. Then today we have also the event, and I'm very sorry. I'm in school, We have a program in Jakarta and Kuala Lumpur. Then I think everything is smoothly according to the change. So I myself am very, as a principal, we are very lucky because this is a very good sharing knowledge to all the schools and participants in the school. Then we hope this is not one of the program, but we will continue to do it. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good evening. It's really good to be here. And for us, for Helen and myself, talking to groups like this is something we really love to do. In New Zealand, we go around the country, we take seminars for professionals, for teachers, but we also take seminars for parents. And for both of us, this is the environment we love most, because we believe that parents are the most important people in the lives of special children. And parents are the ones who can make the most difference. And so we're very glad to be here tonight, so thank you for hosting us and having us here. When Kevin was born with Down syndrome, he's now 21 years of age. It came to us, I have to say, as a really big shock. And some of you have had this experience. You know what a big shock it is to realise that this child that has been born is going to change your life forever. And that's what happened when Kevin was born. I knew, both of us knew, within half an hour of his birth, that our lives would never be the same again. We had no idea Helen was carrying a Down syndrome child until Kevin was born, but we had that diagnosis half an hour after his birth. These are the pictures of Kevin. He's on your right-hand side. He's wearing the cap of our local rugby team. That's sort of football that New Zealanders love very much. He's dressed to go out and play rugby. And here he is with a friend at a birthday party, a friend with special needs. And the last one is with a cake that's been baked for him by a local vet. Kevin works for these vets part-time. And the vet, they love him very much there. And when he had his 21st birthday, they baked him a cake. Kevin is very involved in the community in various ways. We'll talk a bit about that tonight. But what we want to do is share with you the journey we went on and the many, many things we've learned over the years. What I'd like to say now at the start, though, is although when Kevin was born, it was a devastating experience. Disability New Zealand, they would say, our expectations for this child are very low, that he will learn to communicate at all. But Kevin today can read thousands of words. He has a fulfilled and very full life. He contributes to the community, and he knows it. He has dignity. And for us, that is what this is all about. Our belief is that with a child like Kevin, if he can succeed, then most children can succeed whatever their disability. So we feel that we're being very privileged to have a child with such a disability. Kevin was 3 months old. I'll just stop this picture. Kevin was 3 months old. We had the great privilege of having a very special woman in our home. Her name was Dr. Irene Johansson. She was in Otago speaking about teaching children with Down syndrome to read. She had spent her life work in Sweden teaching Swedish children how to read. And we were asked to have her in our home while she was in Dunedin. And so for 3 days, we asked her endless questions, and she shared with us so much. And we have been so privileged because that is what got us going on understanding how to help a child like Kevin. And everything we will share with you tonight has really come to us largely from other people. And that's the way this works. People share what helps, and we pass it on. And by that process, we all can grow and change. I want to tell you some of the things that Irene Johansson said to us in those 3 days. The first thing she said to us was that in Sweden, the expectation is that nearly every child with Down syndrome will learn to read. She also said that learning to read in Swedish is much more difficult than learning to read in English. It's a tonal language, for a start. She therefore believed if Swedish children could learn to read with Down syndrome, most certainly there's no excuse for New Zealand children not learning to read. We therefore, when Kevin was only 3 months old, had the expectation that this child, whatever his disability, would learn to read. She also told us that he would be visually strong, not orally strong. That is, most people pick up language from listening. But for a child like Kevin, he will pick it up from what he sees, much more than from what he hears. Therefore, she said, begin using sign language with him as soon as possible. Now, at that time in New Zealand, sign language was only being used with those who had hearing difficulties. You know, teachers of the deaf and others would actually use sign language. We were the first people in our part of the country to use sign language with a child with Down syndrome. But we began using signs with Kevin when he was only a few months old. That was a very helpful tip, because lots of that, although Kevin doesn't use much sign language as he's got older, he still uses little bits of it. For difficult words like the and and so on and in, those words which are very hard to visualize, he will use signing to help him with them. That's been a very powerful tool. Another thing she said is that we would need to begin with Kevin as soon as possible. That is, the sooner you start training a child like Kevin, the better it will be. But I want to also add this, that over the years we've been taking seminars around New Zealand, and the Ministry of Education hosts us around New Zealand taking seminars for professionals and for families. Over the years, we've often come across children who may be 10 or even 15 years of age and have no language. And it's never too late to start. It's very important to understand that. Nevertheless, the sooner you can start, the better. And she told us another very important thing. She said, teach your child to be teachable. She said, Kevin will face a lot of obstacles to learning in the future. You don't want to add to them, so teach him to be able to sit still. Teach him to be able to make eye contact. Teach him to be quiet in a classroom. Teach him to be able to follow instructions. Because if you can do this, you will make such a difference to his future. And she also said that in raising any child, you need to set clear boundaries, and you have consequences when the child doesn't keep them. But with a child with special needs, you have to be so much more consistent than you ever would have to be with any other child. And we both would say today, that was such valuable advice. Because Kevin actually learned to concentrate, to be quiet, to be appropriate in his behaviour. And that's because we began very young with the goal of him doing these things. Because Kevin was obviously going to be visually strong, and I am a physicist, you know, I did my PhD in physics, did a lot of work in computers. I began thinking that computers would be an ideal tool for Kevin, because computers are all about visual stuff, really, particularly about visual stuff. This is back in 1993. I began looking for computer software. At that time, there was very little available. What there was extremely expensive. We couldn't afford it. So I realized then I would have to begin writing software for him. And we got help from an American company who gave us a full commercial license to a very, very expensive piece of software for which you could write other software. Americans can be very generous. They helped us to start. The hospital in Dunedin, because they saw what we were doing with Kevin, asked us to start a support group for parents who also had children with language delay. And so by the time Kevin was 3 years old, we had a support group meeting in our home in those days. They went on to employ a full-time worker. My wife still supervises that full-time worker in the trust we're involved in. So I began writing software not just for Kevin, but also for these other children. They had very different sort of disabilities. Some had autism difficulties, some had undiagnosed problems, but they were very delayed in language, all sorts of reasons. With us, what happened was the software was used by them. Other people began to hear around New Zealand about our software. And they wanted our software. So we had to form a company. We never wanted to form a software company, but we had to, so that other people could begin using our software. As a result of that, we actually started to put on a web page our software for people to buy. A woman from New York purchased our first software title, a program called Alphabet. She emailed me in 1998 and said she had an idea, it might be 97, I'm not sure. She had an idea for a software title, but couldn't find anyone in the United States who could write it for her. I looked at it and said that a title called Flashcards got born out of that. She had some very clever ideas. I used those. She did the American sounds, we had the US language version, and I wrote flashcards. Then a teacher in Dunedin who worked in a special needs school, because there was still one in Dunedin, still is actually, working with special needs. She came to me. Now she had very poor computer skills, but she could draw. And she drew many pieces of paper, and on those she began to illustrate the sort of program she wanted. And the next program I wrote was called Story Maker, and it came from her. So the software that we have produced, and today there are three of us writing software, my oldest son, my son-in-law and myself all write software. Most of the ideas have come from teachers and parents, from people all over the place, from all over the world actually. And it's collaborative. It's not my bright ideas, it's other people's bright ideas. And we always want to hear people's ideas. Because that's a bit of background about us. And as I say, if you have questions, just put up your hand and ask. We want to now talk a bit about some of the principles involved in helping to introduce a child like Kevin gain language. Although language is not the only thing we're concerned about. But tonight particularly, we want to talk about language. And so let's talk about Kevin learning to swim. Yeah.
Thanks, Trevor. Yes, I'd like to tell you about Kevin learning to swim. And I'm going to get Trevor to play a couple of video clips of Kevin in his progress with swimming, because as you watch it and as we talk about it, you'll see that in this, the swimming and the way we went about teaching him to swim has a lot to do with how you can teach a child language as well. So what I want you to do is to watch this video, and I want you to think about what you are seeing, and I want you to tell me what you're seeing at the end of it, okay? So you need to be really brave and be able to, speak up and tell me what you see. But before I play you that video, I want to tell you about Kevin's first swimming lesson. Now, in New Zealand, it is part of our school curriculum that every child learns to swim. So we have a lot of public swimming pools, and they are cheap. It's not, everybody swims. I suppose New Zealand has a lot of coast, and so there's a lot of water. And we think it's cold water where we live, yes. But we think it's important that children have good water skills. So I thought when Kevin started school at 5, that he too should learn to swim. That's what all children do. And so I was thinking about that and thought the best way would be to have Kevin in the swimming pool with a coach, one-on-one, in a quiet time of the day so he could concentrate. And so I set that up. I talked with the teacher, with the principal of the school, because Kevin has been mainstreamed all the way through his education. And in New Zealand, most children with disabilities are in mainstream classrooms. So he is in a mainstream classroom. And I talked to the principal and said, could his support teacher, could she take Kevin to the swimming pool once a week, because I wanted Kevin to learn to swim. And she was a very nice principal, and she said, sure, Helen, you can do that, we can do that. So the first swimming lesson, let me tell you about it. Kevin loves the water. Don't know if your young people love the water, but Kevin loves the water. And so I thought this will be fine, and I took him to the pool and I handed him over to the swimming coach, and it was all great because Kevin loves the water, but there's a problem with Kevin and the water. And the problem for him is that he loves it up to here, but he doesn't love it up to here. And of course his swimming coach thought Kevin needed to put his head under the water. At that point, everybody at our big swimming pool complex knew that my son was having a swimming lesson because he started to yell. very loudly. Okay? And then, not only did he yell, but I thought he was going to strangle the swimming coach because he was so frightened. And I was sitting there feeling terrible about this. My poor son and the poor coach looks like he's about to be strangled. Was this such a good idea? Okay, that was the first swimming lesson. Now, I want you to watch this, and then I want you to tell me what you observe now. Oh, in the video clips, they are over a sequence of years, okay? So, he started swimming at 5. Kevin still has a swimming lesson every week, and he's now 21. So the last video you will see is of Kevin at 21, okay? So you'll see, you know, over some years. So let's have a look, Trevor. And lots of adults do not like hopping into a pool that is so, so deep. So let's have a look at Kevin. Sorry? It's fantastic. It's fantastic! I think it's fantastic. Thank you for thinking it's fantastic too. What else did you observe? It made you feel happy? That's good. What else? Yes?
As a parent, I think I can see there's a lot of sweat and cry and effort in it. Well done.
You're quite right. As in, you understand. Did that happen fast? No. It happened over all those years from the time he was 5 to the time he was 21. Exactly. But yeah, so there were times where I thought, will he ever learn to swim? But he is indeed swimming. Okay, what else did you observe about that? What about the way he was being taught? Did you observe anything there? What did you see? Yes? Very good. Persistence and step by step. You saw those little wee steps? That's right. And persistence. What else did you see? Do anything else? He can float. He has succeeded. He has gained success. Did you see the smiles on his face? He knew he was succeeding, didn't he? So not only was he succeeding, but he knew it. And he felt good about that. We all feel very good when we succeed. There's a few other things that I'll just mention as well. You will notice it was one-on-one tuition for a long time. Okay, so it was deliberately, those lessons were only half an hour long, and it was one-on-one, and we tried to have them in the swimming pool at a quiet time, because children with disabilities are easily distracted. So you want to try and get the best type of environment to help them succeed, right? What else? Okay. That's right. I think sometimes when we're educating children with special needs, we forget about how important physical fitness is. Physical fitness is important for any child actually succeeding in learning. And in terms of language development, it's well known that it is very important for a little child to learn to crawl. That helps language development. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But it is true. That this cross-the-body movement is very, very good for language development. That is one reason why I wanted Kevin to learn to swim. Because we wanted the cross-the-body movement with his arms. Okay, like this and like this. Because it helps language development. But fitness itself also makes a big difference in terms of learning. So we felt that.
I think it's time to do a little bit of translation.
好，刚才 Dr. TREVOR 他有说 Kelvin 出事的时候对他来讲是一件可怕的事情，但是今天他认为是一件很幸运的事情。他很幸运，说在他3岁的时候，3个月的时候遇到一个从瑞典来的朋友，告诉他，这个孩子要学习讲话，而且他有一句忠告，就是说，我们必须认为我们的儿子是能够受教，一定要认为他能够受教 ，always teachable。比方说可以教他怎样安静，教他怎样走路，教他怎样好的行为然后在1993年，他成功的找到一个从美国来的电脑专家，帮他写成一个这个电脑软体这个他暂时没有说是怎样不过我相信他接着下去会讲比较详细，因为这个软体就是帮助Kelvin以后怎样学习讲话，还有各种过程。那么Helen 她刚才讲的是有关于怎样教Kelvin游泳。她讲在纽西兰每一个学生都一起学习游泳，那么Kelvin也是很喜欢游泳。他第一天去游泳的时候很喜欢水，但是他就是头不能够，他的头不肯潜下去水里，所以他们也发挥了不少力量，最后使到他能够像刚才这个video的情况，就是说真正的游泳。所以刚才游泳那个video还有强调一点，就是整个过程就是学习一定要按部就班，而且一直要 重复啊，一直要重复啊，要有信心啊，直到他克服他的心理障碍了。好，那么还有一点就是说他体能，Helen 认为体能是一个体能是很重要，因为这个学习过程手游泳，它能够帮到你的学习语文的过程。我们暂时就到这里，谢谢。
Swimming illustrates some of that. The first thing that we want to say is this: you need a very long-term view to help a child with disabilities learn. As human beings, we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. Very important with a child like Kevin is not to think that we are going to have this child reading and speaking in a few months. It was never going to happen. But what we did believe is if we kept at it for long enough and persisted, he would learn. And that's been the case. Now, we're talking about a child here with very severe disabilities, but these principles apply with all children in some way, especially those with special children. That's number one. You're going to have a long-term view. The second thing is you need to keep them succeeding. As parents, we like to know how our child can do, as we do in schools for that matter. We like to test children and find out what their abilities are. But with a child with special needs, that can be a major problem because already they are aware of failure in their lives. And if testing makes them more aware of failure, testing is a very bad thing. So we learned with Kevin, don't test him. It will become obvious when he's learning. Let it become obvious. And so the principle we worked out, and then you can find some good books on the subject, is he needs to keep succeeding at least 80% of the time. And he needs to know that he is succeeding. Just as in swimming, you notice there was a lot of affirmation going on in the swimming pool. The instructor was saying, well done, Kevin. They were clapping their hands. They were giving him high fives. You notice those things? Very, very important is to keep on telling him he is succeeding. So resist the temptation to actually keep on testing. Keep them succeeding. A third thing that we learned, and this is absolutely crucial, is that you need a team to teach a child like him. By that I mean, this cannot be done just by educational professionals. They don't have the time, they can't give the consistency. With a child like Kevin, it's best, and we learned very early on, it was best for him to have small amounts of language learning every day, rather than long periods of language learning once a week. Now, where can this come? You know, in a classroom it's very difficult. You need parents involved. And the best language learning should actually come out of the home. And parents don't realise this, how crucial they are. And we have this problem in New Zealand. We have to go and say to parents in New Zealand, understand, you are the most important person in this child's life, and you are the most important person in the education. You are the one constant. Well, hopefully you will be. Teachers will come and go. You'll go to different classes, different schools, perhaps. But the parents should stay, and they're the ones who hold the vision, and they hold it long term. So you need a team. And the team, in the case of Kevin, we rapidly became a team of teachers in this classroom, educational professionals like speech-language therapists and so on. Ourselves, we were always in partnership with the schools, and the schools welcomed that. I think they were surprised to find parents who wanted to be get involved. We found they opened the door to us. And they started to say things like, you are the experts on your son. Very, very helpful. That doesn't happen very often in New Zealand. But what we learned is it can happen if parents want it to happen. I suspect you'll find a lot of that can happen here in Malaysia too. Because often teachers think that parents don't want to be involved. And we hear this when we take seminars with professionals. They tell us time and again, oh, our parents just don't want to be involved. They don't want to know about this. My experience is that is not usually true. And it's the parents' job to tell the teachers that it's not the case. You've got to be the advocates for your child and get involved. It needs a team to teach a child like Helen. You need to maintain motivation. When you're going to have many times with Kevin over the years, we were very discouraged. For example, at the age of 8, we had been working a lot with Kevin. Helen had been doing signing with him, we both had, but she was best at it. Signing him from a very young age. By the time he went to school, he could read about 30 words. And he could speak quite a lot. At the age of 8, we found he was losing language. And by the age of 10, he had lost nearly all his spoken language. He was becoming a silent child. For us, it was devastating. We'd done a lot of work. I had written software, not the software we have these days, but early software. What was wrong? In the end, we took him to an educational psychiatrist. We tried pediatricians in the hospital. They had been very unhelpful. At the educational psychiatrist, Kevin was just playing with some toys in the corner. We said, we'd like you to give us a diagnosis of what's wrong with our son. We know he has Down syndrome, but why is he losing language? The psychiatrist said, I do not need to do any testing of your child. Watching over there, he began to list 14 different symptoms this child had autism. And he said to him, you will need to change your strategies. The school will need to change its strategies. Because a child like this with autism has got very different challenges from a child with Down syndrome. And at that point, we began to realize the school weren't going to be able to do this. They didn't have the resources. That we as parents would have to play a key role. And the psychiatrist challenged us. He said, your child, he goes to school in a classroom with lots of other children. Is that a good environment for him to learn language? He's going to find the noise around him distracting, other children distracting. How can he learn in that environment? So what Helen and I did was we began to teach him at home for the first 3/4 of an hour every morning. We taught him language at home. Helen would work with him 3 mornings a week. For 2 mornings a week, I worked with him. And that was when things began to change. The school were very happy for us to do that, and to partner with us that way. And we began to develop language that he would learn at home, he would also learn at school. So the same things we taught at home and school. And our software, which we'll talk about in a while, was designed to make that happen. I began to write our software for that purpose, so that both the home and school would work on the same things. But you see, we learned then, if we had not got involved as parents, Kevin would be still today a child who could not, he'd have no verbal language. Do you understand this? We were the key people. And it was then this language, we stopped losing language, we began to gain it again. We had to learn different ways of teaching it. And that's when I began writing software that now we realise worked so well with autism until we're all over the place. Because Kevin had quite severely on the autism spectrum. Another thing we learned was the importance of video. In our software, I had been writing software that was using pictures, spoken word, along with written text to teach Kevin. With a child like Kevin, because he's autistic, he's able to recognize the shape of things. He's very good at recognizing shapes and patterns. That's quite common in those with ASD, on the autism spectrum. Therefore, he could actually give you words as if he knew them, but he had no idea what they meant. You could think he was reading, but he had no meaning. That's when I realized that video was going to become crucial. And I began to involve video in our software.
I'll tell you what, Trevor, how about at this point, we'll show you what we mean by video, because that sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? How can you use video for learning to read? Well, I think if we just pull up StoryMaker, we will show you a story that uses video, and then you might gain a bit more of an understanding of what Trevor's talking about. See your part. Stream. And in, up, pull, by, the, waterfall. For seal pups, what do you think? There were lots of seal pups. was every single person in the room had their eyes on watching that video. Because video draws you in, doesn't it? Even more powerfully than pictures. That video will grab your attention, and that's what it will do for a student who has a disability. It will draw them into the story and they're really into it.
And it's now well recognised. I began putting video into StoryMaker about 13 years ago. It's now well recognised that video is a major tool in teaching those with special needs. But the key for this was to tie the video with meaning, to illustrate the meaning of words and so on. And some of our stories have become very, very specific. One of them is bound to always have hope, when all the rest are feeling there is no hope. Because at times you will find that. As I said with Kevin, he was losing language at 8. At 10, that began to turn around. But even then, it was certainly months would you feel, has he learned anything? It was very, very discouraging at times. But because we kept going, we started to see success. And so you need to deal with those bad moments. They will always come when you're trying to teach a child with special needs. There will be times when everyone will say, this is a waste of time. Don't give in to that. Because if you persevere, you will see the results. Another thing I want to say here about computer software. Computer software is a tool. It's a tool to help you teach a child. But it's only a tool. And what's the rule with tools? A tool is only as good as what? A tool is only as good as the person who uses it. Correct? Computer software will not change your child's life. By itself, it will not teach anyone anything. Certainly not a child with special needs. It requires people who learn to use tools that will give good results. One of the reasons we run seminars around New Zealand is we began to realise after writing software for 10 years or so, that if we didn't train people, they would never produce the results. And the Ministry of Education began to ask us to go around and train, because we obviously have become the experts in the software. I wrote it. We worked with Kevin for years. We were the experts in it. And it was then we began to see in New Zealand the change coming with our software and why it's been embraced by schools throughout the country. But it was the training is the key, and the same is true of families. You need to learn to use a tool. Having software won't change anything. It's learning to use it as the key.
教育这个特别儿童需要很大的信心跟鼓励，要一直给他支持，不要去不要去取笑他，想不出来，不要去取笑他，还有一点就是。 父母亲是一个非常重要的角色，在整个过程中，因为父母亲长时间跟着孩子在一起，所以父母亲的角色是很重要的，而且要鼓励，保持鼓励，给他有当信心。他举个例子，他们两夫妇分开来教调病。 一个人教2天，要讲2天。还有一个就是然后就是用这个软体，是他主张用相片让他，因为他相信我们这种孩子他是不是用听，他是要用看，所以要用很多相片，用这个 video 制造一个故事，让他。 在学习的时候也好像在听故事这样，还有他就是说，千万别认为说教导这个特殊儿童是一个浪费时间，绝对不可以，要有信心，要有持之以恒。还有就是说，收回来这个软体本身是没有作用，除非我们要有学习讲去利用它，要不然的话就因为他们的收费 没有这个软体没有保障说你一定能够成功。
Just two more things before we're going to actually start showing you the software that we want to tell you. The first is that in order to keep our young people succeeding, you must have a structured program. Now, I think that in Malaysia, you're probably a lot better at that than we are in New Zealand. We are a fairly unstructured people, but you need to have structure. So you only want to introduce new words at a rate that the student can manage. So to start with Kevin, when he was even a preschooler, we taught him sight words, just one word. And once he had some sight vocabulary, then we would start writing stories that had 2 words in a sentence, which is really difficult, actually, to get very simple sentences. So it might be Kevin smiles, Kevin jumps. Yeah, very simple sentences. And once he could do 2 words together, then we put 3 words together. And so it went very slowly, keeping at the pace that Kevin could actually manage. And at the seminars around New Zealand, as we observe people beginning to use the software, everybody, absolutely everybody, makes the mistake of using too many words far too quickly. Because you see a picture and you think, that's a very interesting picture, and you want to write a whole sentence, you know, a long sentence about that picture, and then you want to give it to a child to read. Well, you only want to put words into sentences that they are beginning to read, that you are confident they can read. So you would only want to add maybe 1 word to a sentence that they didn't know. So you've got to work very slowly, and you've got to be very structured about it if you want to keep success. And we do want to keep success. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. And the second thing I wanted to tell you, I hope this encourages you, but in our observations of working with Kevin, his learning has accelerated the older he has got. Some people will tell you they are going to plateau. I don't know if they tell you that in Malaysia, but I've heard that so often about Kevin. He'll plateau and he won't be able to learn anymore. Well, I can tell you that is just not true. Children with disabilities will go on learning like anybody goes on learning, and you would expect good learning from 18 through to the mid-20s. For anybody, the same is true of our young people. They will go on learning. So we want to make sure we make the best of those years. And don't think that end of school means end of ongoing learning. It shouldn't at all. It should be ongoing. Okay, now, Mr. Shelley, you wanted to handle Q&A.
Okay. Do you have any questions at this point of time? I think it would be good to just ask, because after this we will go into the software proper itself. If you have any questions, even if you have questions in Mandarin, please ask. We have experts here, we have lots of people who speak Mandarin, they can get it translated for us. Questions?
So, I've noticed that key to teaching children as per advice is to always keep them succeeding and make them feel good academically. Feel good factor is what they are driving to. And also you say that teach them based on their ability. So the thing is that how then do we teach this that you know you're succeeding against if you're not testing them, right?
Well, that will become clear. That will become clear when we use SATSIM software. You realize the software itself designed to show you what they know without them being tested.
And how do we know that he's ready for the next word?
We know he's ready for the next word at the point where he's actually succeeding constantly. But I want to say here about the success, about the very slow progress. For Kevin, it was about 3 or 4 years before he could move beyond 3 to 3 words in a sentence. It was a very long time. But in that time, he got good at 3-word sentences. He got very good at it. And then you can start taking it to 4-word, and every now and then we'll go back to 3-word sentences. The Seal Pup's book is not quite long sentences, but that was quite a few years later. So we can't stress it too strongly. You'll know that they're reading when they're succeeding constantly.
Also, that's where the team, the teachers, the parents, the speech language therapists, whoever who are involved, working together, you can work it out. Okay, so get talking, about where you think your young person is at.
Dr. Trevor and Dr. Helen, may I ask from a parent and family perspective, I believe that most of the parents here are also using team, although not home-based, we do have hospital services, and also therapists in private and also government hospitals. Dr. T is from Hospital Saya. She's here with us today. She's the psychiatrist from the Child and Adolescent Department. But specifically, it will be more of like, pretty much what we are handling, although not to that extent. How do you get involved with the siblings of the disabled child or the special needs child, and also the external family? Being in Malaysia, we do have activities and family get-togethers with cousins and all that as well, not just family friends. So, can you share some experience in terms of siblings involvement as in a team Dr. Helen was talking about, and also the cousins or external families?
I think that's a very, very good question. How do you get other people involved in it? I think our software can help with that, because if you have a young person who is verbally poor, it's very difficult for their lives to be shared by others, isn't it? The software has become for Kevin, it's his memory. It's his stories, because we've had these stories going since he was very little, so he now has a whole library of his memories that he can share with people. So in our extended family, and I come from a very large family, we would take Kevin's computer to the family gatherings, sit Kevin down, and then encourage people to come and see what he's doing. So we involve them, in a sense, in his learning. In terms of our children, Kevin is the youngest, and we have had fabulous, absolutely fabulous relationships between him and his siblings. Even while we are here in Malaysia, his eldest brother and his wife have Kevin in their home this week. And then next week, our daughter and her husband, one of our daughters and her husband, will have Kevin back in our home, and they will be looking after him from there. We have tried to involve our children as part of the team as well. So they have got involved in helping, develop software for one thing. They have got involved in writing stories for Kevin, and we have encouraged them to take Kevin out, and they will do that. They will invite him out because our children are all older and grown and married. So it's been a very inclusive family. Interestingly, when Kevin started school, we actually changed. We had to take him to another school, because in New Zealand, as parents, you do have some choice about where your children go to school. And we took him to the school where our son was, and although by the law in New Zealand says that every child with a disability has a right to go to their local school, sometimes principals can make that a bit hard, and this principal was making it hard. It seemed like everything was a problem. And so we looked for another school and took our son there. His eldest, the next brother up, is 3 years older. And when he heard that Kevin was going to another school, he said, "Move me, I'm going with him." And it was wonderful, actually, because we would not have moved him. We would have kept him in that school, but he absolutely insisted. He's my brother, I'm
I'm going with him. And he did.
Yes. And my oldest son, I began at the age of 12 to teach him to write software. So he began writing software for Kevin. And all our family were involved in various ways with us. So yes, you can involve them. The children will love it.
Yeah. Good enough. That's given you enough of an answer.
Yes, it is very good enough. Can I also add on to another choice Helen was saying just now?
Sorry. Well, Doctor, you were explaining just now, it also hits on me that how about the peer pressure from the siblings? Because we do have families, I'm not speaking about my family or just about one family, but we do have siblings of special needs who felt shy, or I think it's more of like they do not know how to handle peer pressure when it comes to going out or having special needs siblings around them or in the family. Some of them may not even want to invite some friends into their home. And I do have one family mother who actually mentioned to me, not from this school, but she did mention that her daughter, who is older than the special needs sibling, did mention to the parents that do not have the sibling in the same school where she is going to. So I mean, it's a real issue.
We taught our children to be proud of Kevin, and they have been. They are very proud of him. They are his greatest advocates and champions, actually. And they have helped many other people except Kevin too. And I think you want to do that. Make your children proud of this child, so they're part of his growth and they celebrate his success. You can do it. It can be done. But that started for us from the beginning. Our children own this.
I think as well, because I've been reflecting in coming to Malaysia about this. In New Zealand, this move, the law that changed in the 1980s that said every child with a disability has a right to go to school in their local school, the push for that to happen came from parents. It came from a group of parents in New Zealand who had a dream that their children would be well integrated in the community. And they won. The government listened to them. And as a result of that, it has meant in New Zealand that disability is not hidden. It is in everyone's classrooms. You know, all your other children would be going through school if they lived in New Zealand, and there would, somewhere through their schooling, they would have a child with a disability in their class. And so, in our culture now, it is a lot easier.
It's quite easy for us to compare between Malaysia and New Zealand, but New Zealand was where we are now at one time. And parents have actually made that difference, and I believe we can do that. And this is actually a good beginning, for us to learn to teach our own children to be proud of our own special needs child. Okay?
For normal children, when they're young, normally the parents will tell stories to their children. But for our children, they have language problems. They couldn't understand what you are talking about. So is that, should we also use the same method and teach our children, telling the stories to our children in that way?
我是问这个演讲者，因为我们平时教孩子，普通孩子的话啦，都是讲故事，跟他们讲故事嘛，来教他们语言嘛。但是我们的特殊孩子的话，你跟他讲故事，你不知道他明白还是不明白，所以怎么样？
Thank you, that's a good question. I think it's really, really important that we tell stories to our children with special needs as well. And they can be stories that we write using software, because obviously the best stories for these children will be stories about things that they understand. And sometimes the published books that we buy don't meet that understanding, because they're about things they don't understand. Or in New Zealand, sometimes they can be meant to be funny, but Kevin would never see the joke. So we have to help. So we would tell quite a lot of stories and write our own stories as well.
I think it, yeah, this is another question.
I like the track for teaching all the special track for teaching all the special children. The few factors were and they, like my son, what I usually do is like I don't encourage him when he's a course from relate that to him. He has a certain, of course we have kids, if you put sometimes they come with certain reward. Well, in my case, that's what I thought. So yes, I would try to provide him with certain reward in that sense.
Yeah.
So what happens is that sometimes I find it really difficult to draw a line whether when I'm rewarding him for him succeeding in doing something, whether I'm spoiling him or it's actually making him feel good, but at the same time, because by doing this, whether I like it or not, he has succeeded, you tend to compare at home. He's succeeding and he's getting reward, I'm not, then you know how do you draw a line, how do you face this problem?
Good question. Like how do you reward in a way that is going to be appropriate without making siblings perhaps feel, hang on a minute, I'm missing out here. I think if we'll move on to the software very soon, we did not give Kevin a lot of external reward in terms of giving him treats or whatever. We did not use that method ourselves. We used particularly the video to be the reward because he loves watching video. And so at the end of, if he was doing flashcards, there could be a video at the end. At the end of a book, there could be a video that he really liked. So we tried for him to actually enjoy the process of learning, rather than saying, oh, if you bear with it and do what the task I want you to do, then I'll reward you. We wanted the learning itself to be rewarding. Do you see the difference?
And for Kevin, in fact, in his moments when he wanted to just have some fun, he would bring out his computer software, learning language, and he'd play with that because he so much loved it. And I think that's what you want to do. Rather than, and also the other reward is our own affirmation. Rather than giving him things, we would use the words we spoke to be the reward.
Mr. Chair, can you translate that? Is that okay? I think this whole thing about the rewards. Would you like that, right? You've got a question.
No, I'm just trying to explain to the parents just how the question, the answer given. 刚才我问的那个问题，关于那个是不是要教我们的特殊孩子一样，跟好像正常孩子一样讲故事给他们听，他们都听不大懂。这样他是讲故事还是要讲的，但虽然是说他们不大懂，不过我们是要根据他的那个阶段来去讲啊。他说那么至于这个说那个好像说奖励给孩子的因为他如果是你要怎么样奖励，那么对于他呢，他的孩子他是用那个16跟那个电脑的收费，因为他孩子很喜欢，所以他用这个来奖励他的孩子。其实整个刚才讲的几个那个重点，他讲的之前他讲了1、2、3、4、5、6、7个重点。第一个重点就是说，我们教我们的孩子是一个长期性的，是一个持续的。这个是重点，我们必须要，然后我们必须要一直要让他有感觉到说，他有这种成功，好像说不是一直常常遇到失败，要给他一种好像有成就感，对，这样。那么第3点呢，就是说，他是认为说，家长跟校方是一个团体，一组，就是要合作。就是说，你不能够只是丢给学校教房教，家长因为孩子回去的话，我们家长整天面对他，所以是双方要一个 team，
一组来合作的，来去教他的。然后第4点就是说，我们常常要鼓励他，常常要鼓励他。第5点就是我们肯定会面对很多挫折，那么这个我们必须要就是勇敢的去面对这些挫折最终还是会有一些效果啦。所以不要遇到挫折而放弃我们的孩子是可以教育的。那他就讲到说那个软件，像我们的高个他有那个软件，我们有时候在外面也买到一个软件，但是我们不能够这样子丢给他，我们没有去教他也是等于0啊。其实我们软件必须要懂得怎样去用它，很重要了。那第7点就是说，当他教的时候，就是说要有一个structured program， 是说那个structured program 怎么讲啊？就是有计划性的啦，教他啦，因为他们的语言是比较慢嘛。那我们不要太过紧张，太过快，就是一下子要教他一句一个句子很长的句子，我们就1个字，开始以1个字，第2句，然后到2个字、3个字这样子慢慢来，基本上是这样子。那么最后就是说，这个是一个持续性的学习。好，谢谢。就是有计划性的啦，教他啦，因为他们的语言是比较慢嘛。那我们不要太过紧张，太过快，就是一下子要教他一句一个句子很长的句子，我们就1个字，开始以1个字，第2句，然后到2个字、3个字这样子慢慢来，基本上是这样子。那么最后就是说，这个是一个持续性的学习。好，最后就是说，这个是一个持续性的学习。好，谢谢。
Trevor and will demonstrate some of the software to show you the tool that
5 major software titles. Tonight I'm only going to talk about 2 of them. The first one is the tool Flashcards that the woman from New York helped me with back in 1997-98, which is just a tool for psychoactivity. Very simple idea. I imagine that some of you as parents create flashcards, do you? You have a picture, you have the text beneath, you use that to teach the child. This is just a tool to help you facilitate that, but a bit more I'm going to show you. This, by the way, is the 5th version. This is Flashcards 5. I only finished it a week ago. It's not due for release for another month. So you're getting to see it before anyone else is, okay? It may still have bugs in it, but I don't think so. I think it's fine. Basically, you set it up to use in the classroom, so you can have many different users. Children, or in the case of New Zealand, our software is also used by adults. So we call them users, not children, so they can be used by anyone. A lot of our software is used in schools for those with reading recovery. They don't have any diagnosed problem, but they are just having trouble reading, and it's used for that as well. So you have a user, and then for the user, you create sets of words. And I've set up a set here of animals, and I'm going to modify that and add 1 or 2 words to it. So I'm going to edit the set. So far, the set has got the word dog and the word cow in it. I'm going to double click on that and just show you. Currently, dog has got 2 pictures assigned with it. We can have more than 1 picture of word, so that each time the word is shown, it might have a different picture. That helps you to generalise, helps the child generalise. Instead of learning that one with a dog, for example, you want them to recognise many different sorts of dogs as dogs. You can add video there, and we've got a video here, so let's add the video. This is the first time I've tried this here, so let's have a go. Use our own video, and it's on the desktop, isn't it? KL seminars. Okay, and I'm looking for a dog walking.
I thought this was very funny. I found it today. Don't you think that's cute?
Okay, we don't want the full video. because it would take too long and it would ruin the child learning the word. So we'll just choose a section. And let's see how long we're going to make this. Well, we might give them 10 seconds of that video, more or less.
YouTube is really your friend, right? Comes to resources, it's great.
Okay, that's 9.5 seconds, that's enough, okay? So you can also put sound effects with it. So that when the child gets to see that, first of all, you set the program up so that you choose the order which things are shown. The first thing you want to show normally is the written word, because that's the goal, they'll learn that. And then you'll get prompts like pictures, videos, sound, all hoping that they'll say that word until finally the word gets spoken. And then you can change the delays, give longer gaps before those other prompts come. Until eventually the child will see the text and say the word. They don't even realise they've learned it, but they have learned it. And you know they've learned it because they start to say it. And non-verbal children put in front of a computer will become much more verbal. Very interesting how much that is the case. So let's add a sound effect. Well, I think I've got a sound effect of the dog somewhere. Let's go and have a look. Barking of the dog. Let's listen to it. Okay, we don't want too long of that, so let's see the section. And I'm going to give it, maybe 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds of dog barking. That'll be fine. That's done. Cow, well, what have we got with cows? A picture of a cow. Do you have a cow video? I've got a cow sound. Okay, cow moving, here it goes. Let's listen to that. Okay, it's obviously a cow. I don't know if you get cows. Do you have cows here? We have lots of cows in New Zealand. They sound like that. Okay, I'll use the whole sound, very short. You can add other words. So let's add sheep. New Zealand has an awful lot of sheep. You know, I think there's something like 13 million sheep in New Zealand, right? There used to be 50 million, but there are now a lot more cows. Let's add a picture. Now, with all software for special needs children, you want to make it personalised. The best pictures you can use here are not the pictures bundled with the software, but there are pictures bundled with it. The best pictures are the ones you get yourself. And if you can, involving your child in the pictures best of all. Now, we don't have any pictures of Kevin with a sheep, but I'm going to go and grab a picture of a sheep from somewhere. Oops, not from the gallery there. Let's cancel that. I'm going to get it from the camera. I'm going to find a picture of sheep, photographs, animals. I have a sheep in here for sure. We're going to find one. Here we go. It's a sheep in here on my photograph. We were tramping up a mountain in Dunedin in New Zealand rather recently. We found this good sheep. We took a photo of it. Okay, and we got a video of sheep. I'll add a video of sheep.
Now, as Trevor's adding this video, let me say, don't be scared at the thought that you're going to do this. That actually, you are going to do it, but it's not that hard. It's actually quite easy. Okay? Some people go, oh, do I have to do that? Normally in the seminar, we would have you sitting with your laptop with the software on it and we would coach you to do it. Okay? What I'm hoping is that here in Hale, we will have some people who can do it quite easily to help coach others. But the idea is that you do it yourselves. Alright?
Okay, that'll be enough for the moment. We've already said one of them and we won't put any pictures of it.
That'll be enough.
Okay.
That'll be good.
So you set up a set. Having set up the set, that's when you play it. There are two ways you can play it, but let's first of all just talk about showing flashcards. And so, I won't set the options, but this you see how it works. The text first, picture, then the video, and all the time you have the child going to say, dog, the dog. Sounds not very loud, but it's a dog barking. By now he's getting the idea of dog, and finally, when that sound finishes, didn't say dog, did it? Sorry, okay. Same with the cow.
Cow. Now, isn't that much more interesting than having a word on a piece of card? It is so much more engaging.
What's more, now a computer never gets tired.
Sheep.
You can have the same set of flashcards played again and again and again. For a parent, it's very boring. But if you're on a computer, they can get all the repetition they need, and they need a lot of repetition. Now, children with special needs, like Kevin, they have good long-term memory, but very poor short-term memory. If you get a word properly into their mind, they'll probably know it for the rest of their lives. So it's worth this investment. But understand, it takes a lot of repetition for the word to be fixed. But once it is fixed, they'll go on and on remembering. And then, of course, have you done that? There is, when you think they're getting a bit better at this, I've learned a few words, we use lotto boards. It's a very simple way of a lotto board. You can have up to 9 cells in it. And now, because we taught Kevin at the age of 3 to drag and drop, you can do it. They drag the right word onto the right picture. If they drag it the wrong place, nothing happens. We never give a response to a bad thing. We never say bad choice or you're wrong. You never want to tell them they failed. However, they want to get it right, because when they get it right, something's going to happen. In this case, dog. It's going to say the word dog. And the same with cow.
Cow.
Sheep.
Sheep.
At the end, you'll be rewarded.
Cow. Dog.
And you can put all sorts of rewards. You can have videos and rewards. The software's meant to be that way. So you can put your own rewards in there. And for that reward, Kevin will do this. Now, you can do a great deal with lotto boards like this. For example, when Kevin was at school and he went into a new class, we would ask permission to go with the digital camera to that classroom, and we would photograph every child in the classroom and get them to record their name on flashcards, because you can add your own words and record sounds, because the program is designed to help you do that. So the children record their own names. Kevin would go home with his flashcards, and he would start to match up their names with the pictures, and within a couple of weeks he knew the name of everyone in his classroom. He knew their name before the other children knew each other's names. They would come to him and ask to borrow his software. They would sit down with flashcards so they could give the names of other people in the classroom. Do you understand? So in actual fact, he began to do better than them, despite his severe disability, because of a tool like this. A woman who was working with him, we call them teacher aides in New Zealand, the untrained people that will come in, they get very low pay, they'll come in and work to help out in the school. A teacher aide with Kevin said, I would like to teach him the breeds of dogs. She's nutty about dogs, you know. She likes dogs very much. So we said, oh, well, you can try. So, you know, she had so quickly Kevin could recognize 9 different breeds of dogs. He knew dogs like Labradoodle, little Labradoodle, you know, Border Terriers, Huskies, Dalmatians. And in fact, with Kevin in New Zealand, he often goes with us and demonstrates in sessions like this. You see him at work. He's quicker than the parents are in that room. He knows more breeds of dogs than they do. We found when we were driving down the street with Kevin, and you'd see a dog like a boxer, by the way, you say to Kevin, what's that? He wouldn't say dog, he'd say boxer. He knew that he could generalize. So this actually, very simple concept, become a very powerful tool. And often the best tools are actually quite simple.
I think we're limited in our time, so maybe we'll just do a quick demonstration of screening. This software has been designed for people who are not good with computers. So if that sounds like you, just relax a little bit. It has been designed so that people, with poor skills can still pick this up and use it. Okay?
Right. This is an old title. I'm currently about 3/4 way rewriting this with my oldest son. So it looks like, older generation. It works still very well. Do you want us to show a book of Kevin's for starting off?
Yes, I think we should show another book.
We're going to wash my hands.
That's excellent.
This is an example of, this tool is used for 2 things. It's used for parents and teachers to write stories for the child about the child's world. That's one use, very useful. And the child learns language through that. It's also used as a tool for the child themselves to write stories. We may not get time to show you that, but it actually enables a child who cannot spell, who cannot speak, to still write. And Kevin began doing that long before he had much verbal language. He was able to write stories, so he could share his world with others. But first of all, let me show you one book I wrote with Kevin. Kevin had a problem. When he went to the toilet, he did not wash his hands afterwards. Now, that's a bad thing. You want him to wash his hands. So I wrote a social story, which is what this is. because I thought Flash Story Maker is an ideal tool to teach him. And let me show you how it works. It's called I Wash My Hands. Within 2 weeks, Kevin was washing his hands as you see in this book. And ever since, he washes his hands perfectly. Every time, exactly the same way. It's autism for you. Listen to the book. There are many ways of working with the book. Let's listen to it.
My hand.
I got Kevin and did video with us, to coach him.
Dirty hands.
This is quite a few years ago.
Put in the plug. Turn on the water. Turn off the water.
You get the idea. It handled the whole thing. You know, it is amazingly motivating for a child to see themselves doing this. And so although I was coaching with every step there, watching himself that he learnt it. That's one use of stories like this. But the major point is to teach him language. And so when you give him a book like that, there are many ways of interacting with it. He can click on the words. You can say to him, for example, I'll show you very briefly.
I wash my hand. Click on hand.
You'll quickly learn that they're knowing words for this process. It says click on hands and he clicks on the wrong word.
Click on hand.
Just repeats it until he gets it right. And of course,
hand.
When he's finished the whole sentence, he gets the video. And he wants the video, so that's his incentive. Another way of working with it, and I was aiming here to teach him the sentence structure,
My hand.
is having given him the sentence, he's got to recreate it. Get the words in order and create the sentence. There are many, many options in the program to, as he got better, stop prompting him, snap it automatically. Lots of cues and so on in there. Don't have time to show you that. But that's one way.
Click on I. If you don't do it, it keeps telling you to do it until you do it.
Yeah. I would quite like to show that time to say goodbye, good night.
I think that would be brilliant. Let's do that.
I want to show you the sort of stories you can write using resources that you get off the internet. YouTube is a fantastic place. If you know how to download stuff on YouTube, as long as you're not selling it, you're not breaking any law, it's a very wonderful tool. Kevin loves singing. He's tone deaf. When he sings very loudly, and it's not very pleasant to hear, but I love his enthusiasm. And we wrote a book around a man called Andre Bocelli, because Kevin really likes Andre Bocelli's singing. And I'm going to show you one of those books.
Time.
As you watch this, you realise how motivating it is for Kevin to get language. Because he has to learn the language in order to be able to get the response. I'm just playing it in the moment. He doesn't want to get to do this. He's got to do something to do it.
Happily ever after.
That was a nice story.
Okay, time to close your eyes and get to sleep.
Mr. Andrea Bocelli, does that help you?
And we have had a story, a song. It's late and you must be asleep.
Now, what do you think I made the words on each page be? What do you think? What do you think? The words of the song. See? So you're seeing the song itself reinforcing it. So you need to watch. Look at the first page.
Time.
That was the title.
To say good night.
Now, Kevin so wanted this, we were never going to play it like this. He had to do something like recreate the page first. But he so wanted the reinforcement, he got very quick and recreated the page. And of course, he started to sing along.
Down. Here is your beer.
Now Now, who is wanting us to keep going? You understand? It's compelling, isn't it? And Kevin, when he will demonstrate this book, for example, in New Zealand seminars, he'll be singing at the top of his voice. Doesn't matter who's in the room, because he's so motivated by it, you see.
One thing I'll comment on too, and that is you'll notice that when the voice is spoken, how deliberate it is. It's slow and deliberate. That is because we're trying to actually teach reading. So yeah, it is very slow and deliberate. You can speed it up a little bit. But we found with Kevin that we had to be slow and deliberate if he was actually going to pick the single words. We had to take it at a slower pace than we would normally talk. So that's why it is slow and deliberate like that.
The software is designed so that you will add your own words.
Yeah.
And in fact, you can replace all the sounds on here with your own sounds if you choose. Some teachers in New Zealand do that. Most parents don't bother actually, because they don't find their child gets worried about different sounds. But the story making about 4,000 words come with it. That's nothing like enough. Flashcards are about 5,000, still nothing like enough. What we do though, this is also designed for our child to write with. Let me show you you've got time to show this? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show you an example of it, and we lost our, did we not save it this morning? Different username. Give it the start. It'll probably be in text. Oh, maybe not. Okay. On your computer. Oh, you spent troubles this morning getting my computer to work with the data predictor. Okay. Well, you can set up a dictionary. With a dictionary, you only put in the words the child knows. If they're going to write stories themselves, they must know all the words in advance. You would never get them to write a story of the word they didn't know, because it wouldn't be their story, it would be your story. You understand? So we just, what about I saw an ambulance? That'll just do it, just make it that simple. So this is designed so you can have a dictionary which the child will drag the words in. Just click them if you want to, but they don't drag and drop the words into the sentence to create a sentence. So the sentence will begin with the word ambulance. You then will know he's got to add the rest of the words to make a sentence out of it. Let me show you what it might look a bit like. We put ambulance in because he wants to get it very soon, and then we might get the other words in, but they won't be in the right order. We'll get him to play the sentence.
Ambulance.
Door.
And
you say, is that right? He said, no. He then is set up so he will have to drag the words into the right place. He loves dragging the words into the right place. And in this case, very easy, isn't it? I saw an ambulance. Let's play it. Here it sounds right.
I saw an ambulance.
Next step, adds a picture to it. He would then print out the story, and in the past he would go around and read that to everyone in the house. He would take it to school with him and read the story. And because our software is designed, you can put stories onto USB drives. They could go to school, and at school we have it on the computer there too. Same stuff on the computer at school as on home. So at home we were teaching the same words as the school were teaching. That gave great reinforcement. That's how teams work. You're working on the same thing. You get the right reinforcement. The best tool, however, with Kevin was not only to get him to write the story, but also get him to take the pictures. We learned early on to give Kevin the digital camera. We would go to places and take photos and videos. One day I thought, why don't we give him the camera? Because I wonder what he thinks is important. He loved the Otago, he loved the museum where we live. We thought he loved the big Maori carvings because they're always go up to the look at the Maori carvings. We gave him the camera. We found he didn't photograph the Maori carvings. He went and photographed the tongue poking out in the middle of the Maori carving. It was the tongue poking out, he liked, not the carving at all. We began to see the world through Kevin's eyes. And he would come home and start to write sentences built around the photos he had taken. And then we began to understand his world. And that is so motivating to a child to feel they're telling you what they could never say. And you would go to school and play the stories. We'd have stories about major events in his life. He'd go out on holiday trips with us and so on. We'd have them on books with videos. In the school, they would put them on a data region so the whole class could watch what had happened to Kevin the weekend. So he became included that way. going to share as well.
Thanks, Trevor. So, I'm sorry that it's been really rushed for us to actually show you the software. What we can offer to you, I have business cards here that have our I think it's got the website on it. Yes, it does. It's got the GEDDES software website on it. You can go home and download the software. Okay. You would be downloading a trial version, but the trial version is the full version. It will only run for 30 days. So you can give it a try at home, okay? And then from that point on, then if you want to buy it, then you can. We're setting something up arbitrarily in order for that to happen for Malaysia. You can just go into the Malaysia section and you'll find out how you can do that. I'll reassure you the software is not expensive. So yeah, I'm very confident that you should all be able to do that. And then maybe it can be used in the school. The school needs to load the software and it needs to be loaded at home. Because we want those books to go between home and school, don't we? Then maybe this can become part of a child's homework, that they have a USB drive. They have books they've made at home and they go to school. They have books they make at school and they go home. Same with the flashcard sets. So it's designed to be used at home and at school. So yeah, so you can go home and download any of the software that we've talked about tonight, plus the other titles, the alphabet one and the spelling one, and a personal organizer one as well.
Now, I have some students who are actually working hard at the fact that they're actually copying the softwares into pen drives. And if you are keen, they are for sale there. These are 8 gig pen drives. We have to go to Lauya to buy them. So you just pay for the price of the pen drive, which is 20 ringgit. And all the softwares mentioned here, they are there. Another incentive for teachers and parents from SMK SINAR BINTANG, on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, we will actually be running a full 2-hour training for parents and teachers who are actually interested. And teachers meaning our teachers, our special ed teachers, plus parents who are interested, but you have to register because we cannot take too many people. And you have to bring your own laptop. That's the condition, okay? And so it'll be at 9 o'clock in the school in the Bilik Mishwara. And if you're interested, please register yourself tonight so that we can roughly know how many parents are actually going to come, okay? But for those who are not part of the school, family or fraternity, if you're interested, if you're keen, on Monday night, I'm actually organizing a special time at the Homework Center. This is the NGO that I run, which is called the Reading Plus Club. And the Reading Plus Club will actually be managing the softwares for Malaysia. Because we want to see this being rolled out so that every child every child has access to this software, okay? And the pricing is very unimaginable. We have actually agreed that it will basically be, if they're selling it for $32 in New Zealand, it will be 32 ringgit here. You know, and I think, you know, like last night we went up for dinner, just 5 of us, 4 of us, we paid almost, we paid way much more than that, right, for dinner. So it's not very expensive. The motivation that we have is we want to see every child benefiting from this, okay? And just like what happened in New Zealand maybe about 20 years ago, we would like to see a movement happening here in Malaysia so that the government will actually listen to us and begin to fund properly and begin to take note of special needs children. They are precious children also, okay? Now, we want to thank Dr. Trevor and Helen for their wonderful presentation. They are tired, They've been here the whole morning and went back and got a little bit of rest, and they are here again tonight. Tomorrow, very early in the morning, we are all flying off to Kuching to meet some people over there. So we just want to show our gratitude to them in appreciating them. Maybe let's give them a very big round of applause. And the Parents Teachers Association has actually organized this for tonight. So we would like to invite the chairman of the Parents Teachers Association, accompanied by the principal, who's something very special and amazing.
And thank you so much for coming. It's an absolute joy to us to speak to you parents, and yeah, it's just been a real privilege.
Thank you. I hope you have been blessed and you are encouraged, and the idea is just to encourage you to say, look, you're not alone, we are all with you. Okay? Again, I want to acknowledge Dr. T, who's here. She's the person everyone needs to see. Not for our problems, but you know, she's the expert in the field here. And we thank you for giving us the honor of being here with us. Food is, refreshment will be served at the back. So feel free, you can just adjourn to the back and have some drinks, some sandwiches and things like that. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Cherry, excuse me, I would just like to take 1 minute of your time to also, Mr. Cherry, excuse me, I would just like to take 1 minute of your time to also acknowledge our SINAR BINTANG pengetua, Tuan Yahya, because Dr. Trevor and Helen, you have been mentioning about a team, yeah, about our school and parents and family to integrate together. And I would like to acknowledge that Tuan Yahya is a very caring and helpful and understanding about special needs. And our school is very grateful and also acting as our pengetua.